I want to show you now other events for objects, or let's say HTML elements that we have on HTML pages. So to do that, I'm gonna make it more difficult. So I'm gonna show you what happens if I have elements having the function of parent containing children. So here we have a parent, which is a div containing a child. So I'm gonna create here a div, a rectangle, a div containing another child. And here, when I move, you see here in the text area, I'm gonna say where I'm moving. Inside a child, how many times? 292, 299, or inside a child, I move. And if I have more than 5 seconds, then I'm gonna start a new line, you see. So I want to show you what happened when I'm going out from the child, or when I go from the parent inside a child, or if I'm going out from the parent. You can see here I say I am in the child and I'm moving inside the child, you see, 71, so on, 10, then I go out. So, and I say from child to parent, and mouse over to parent from child. Okay, then if I click on child, you see, and here I click on parent, then I click on here on clear, and we're done. So what I'm gonna do is the following. I'm gonna create two divs, one containing the other one, so the parent and the child. Then I have a text area and then a clear button. So to do this, I'm going to my Genie, my editor, and I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna here create my HTML document, including a head, having the meta chart set, and a link to a style file, a CSS files, where we're gonna do something, and I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna use this. This is the style of the parent, the child, and the text area. So I'm gonna format them a bit. You can study more if you want. It's not the scope of this course talking about CSS. You can see here I have a background, a certain width, and height. The position is relative, a margin of padding. The position of this is absolute because it's inside the relative one. And width is 50%. And the height the same, left and top also 50%. Okay, and they're gonna translate. You see here we are exactly here in the middle. And then the text area, like block, margin, the width and the height. Then I'm going to find my body, so my elements, and I have the div with ID parent, including a text parent, including also another div by ID child, where I put text child. So we are basically here, you see, parent and child. And then I'm gonna create here my text area by ID text, and then the button, which is basically an input element type button value, so the text over the button is clear and the ID is clear dash text. And I'm gonna give a reference to a certain script, a JavaScript file, which is here, that I'm gonna build together with you to make you understand the mouse over, mouse out, and mouse move events using parents and children. Okay, now I'm gonna create my JavaScript file, and I'm starting first of all defining some constant containing the value of the HTML elements included in my HTML file. So we have the parent, which is this one by ID parent, this one by ID parent. And then I'm gonna give reference to clear text, which is this one, the button, and then here reference to text, which is my text area here by ID text. Okay, then I'm gonna create here, or let's say define a variable last message time. So I'm gonna give some time when I'm typing a message inside the text area, which is initialized to 0 at the very beginning. Then I have a last message, which is a text that I'm going to print in the text area, which is at the beginning empty. And then a repeat counter is a counter of the movements that I'm doing when I'm doing something with the mouse, when I move. So I'm starting with 1. Then I'm going to create a function by the name handler, passing as parameter the event, which is the event that we have normally when we are clicking over a button or we are moving inside a div and so on. I'm going to define first of all a variable type which is equal to event.type. So which kind of event I'm going to consider, and then while the length of this string is less than 11, I'm going to add some spaces at the end so that I have a string of 11 characters, and I will show you later why. Then if I'm going to remove all the empty spaces using the train function to the type that I define as event.type, if this is equal to mouse over, so if I have the event mouse over, I'm gonna print this text, which is basically a log function that we will see later. We're gonna type the type of the event plus 2, and then you see here event.target.id. So mouse over, so this is my event. I'm mouse over, so I'm moving over which element, and then here I have event target.id. The target is the element that at the moment is affected by the event, and this is its ID. And then I'm gonna type here from, so I'm coming from which element. I'm mouse over, so I'm moving from the related target ID, the origin and the destination. Then mouse out is, of course, in this case, the origin is my current object, and I'm moving to the destination, to the next one. So if I have over the child, and I'm moving out, then I have his ID here and the ID of the parent. And if I'm moving out from the parent, I have the ID of the child or the ID of another element outside the parent. Then, if in the case is mouse move, then I'm gonna type where I am. So type mouse move inside what? Event.target.id. So mouse move, you have only event.target.id. You don't have related target because you're moving inside an object. So you don't have an origin and destination, but you have only a place where you're moving. So an HTML element where you're just now triggering this event. And then in all the other cases, you're gonna type here event and then say on, no? Like for example, click on, and the ID of the element where I'm clicking. So target is the element where the event occurs, and this is its ID. I'm gonna return false at the end. Usually in modern JavaScript, you don't need that, just to make sure that this function has been completed. Then I'm gonna assign to the mouse over, mouse out, mouse move, and click events of the parent object the function handler that I just defined. And we know how to add event to, or let's say how to add functions to events using the add event listener method of the HTML element object. I'm gonna define then a function clear text, where I'm gonna clean the text in the text area, and last message is empty. And then I have a log function that I mentioned before. You can see here in all this part, log is the log function where I actually build my message, passing the message as parameter. And if the last message time is 0, so I'm starting at the very beginning, the last message is equal to a date, so a new date. In object oriented, you define an object using the class date with the new keyword in front. So it's a date, and you use the native object date of JavaScript, and you say date is now. And then you define a variable time, which is also a new date. And you compare this time with the last message time, so the two dates. If the difference is greater than 500, I'm gonna print basically a line with a carriage return and a message at the end. So I'm going to down 19. Say too much time after the last occurrence of any event. Then if the message is equal to the last message, I'm going to increase the counter, and if the counter is equal to 2, I'm going to print this. So I'm going to get the text in the text area, and I'm going to trim, I remove all the spaces, and I add at the end x2, so 2 times, and then a carriage return, which is /n, so it means go to the next line in the text area. In all the other cases, you're going to take basically the following. You're going to get the text in the text area, which is text.value. You're going to slice, so you're going to get from this value everything which is from starting the string 0 until when you encounter the x plus 1, you're going to remove everything after that, and you're going to put at the end the repeat counter, so the counter how many times you were sequentially triggering that event. And then at the end, in all the other cases, if the message is not equal to the last message, you start at the very beginning again, repeat counter is equal to 1, and the value in the text area is now increased of message plus a carriage return. And then in the text area you can scroll, you have a scroll bar on the right, and now you put a scroll top the value of the scroll height. So you always position where you are printing the message currently. And then last message is equal to message. And finally, you add to the click event of the button element the clear text function. So that's it. So we have exactly what we wanted. And if we're going back to our example, you see what happened. So here, now I move here, nothing happened because I'm not in any div where I define or add any event. But for example, if I go inside here, you see, I mouse over to parent from, I cannot specify. You see some seconds elapsed and there is a line. So I'm move inside the parents already 13 times. You see, 11, 6, 8, 17, 25, 46 times I'm moving. Then now I'm moving and going into the child. Mouse move inside child. So to child from parent, you can see. And I move 16 times. And then after 500 milliseconds, I have inside child moving. You see here. Then I move out from child to parent and mouse over to parent from child, and then inside the parent I'm moving 15 times, you see, or more and more. See, so you have everything. Then if I click, I say I click on child, and here I click on parent. Click on child, click on parent. And here I click on clear and everything is empty. As simple as that. So this is a summary of the most important events. Of course, you can go more deep inside to learn more about events, but at the moment, this is enough for you to understand how to use events in JavaScript.